Suerte, past take, siesta ocho. I know that music. That means it's time for city business. This is James Moore. You're listening to solar-powered KRUU-FM, broadcasting from the Cultural District here in Fairfield, Iowa. Also being taped for FMC, Fairfield Media Center, Jason in the house, as well as City Council person Michael Halley, who's here, representing the 4th Ward and catching us up to the latest snuff from, that doesn't sound right, from the latest action at City Hall, another meeting last night, and we're anxious to hear all about that. I want to remind you, you can hear City Business at KRUU after each City Council meeting the following lunchtime Tuesday at 12:30, and then 6:30 p.m. dinner time Thursday, and the following Monday morning 6:30 a.m. for breakfast. So we get you covered all your eating cycles here. Michael Halley, how you doing today?
I'm good, glad to be here, as always.
Well, good to see you. Tell me what's up.
Actually, it was a relatively short meeting, July 14th regular City Council meeting. We've had a few, Jason Strong disagrees that it was short, but it was an hour and 40 minutes, I think. It's, you know.
One man's short is another man's something else. But
well, you know, when it starts going past 2 hours, that's when you really know you're in it. Jason gets off when we have closed sessions. He gets to leave, and the rest of us don't. So those are the ones that seem like they're just going to drone on forever. Anyway, we had a nice little 3-week break between meetings. It just happens sometimes with the way the months are split. So back in action, ready for whatever the city's got to throw at us. I'll mention some of the public forum appearances we had, not getting into the details of what was discussed, but just to talk about the process. So we had a gentleman who had an issue with his Park and Rec annual pass. It was just a situation where he paid part of it, and then his employer paid part of it. And now the Park and Rec department is one of the few city departments that has its own board, and they have a certain amount of jurisdiction, so technically he could have gone there, but it's his right to appeal to the council, and he did. And the council made a decision, and in a sense, it's, I don't want to say it's final, but it's, you know, it's going to the highest authority and whatever the issue is. So we granted him part of what he was asking for. That part just didn't seem equitable. But at the same time, it's just important that people are allowed to come and speak to the council about issues.
well, what's the detail we're dying to know?
Detail, we gave him $14 back.
Interesting. All right. I knew there was something deeper to the story.
That's it. That's all. Anyway, we had a gentleman who was asking the city to waive our right on a subdivision. We said if it's within the 2-mile jurisdiction of the city has a right to have a say when land is subdivided. Well, it was subdivided, but then the owner of the land divided it again, made the lots even smaller. So our city attorney advised us not to take action. So I was just goofing around, so I said I'll take a motion not to take action. And I confused some people there for a moment. They thought, do we need to second that motion? No, it was just a joke. No action means no action. We took no action. But
yeah, it's kind of counterproductive to take action for no action.
Exactly. I was having fun. You know, I try to lighten the meetings. We used to have Ron Adam. He was kind of, I want to say he was the comic relief, but he was really good at getting people chuckling, and he's sorely missed. You know, we just need that presence to lighten the mood sometimes. We had a third appearance from a gentleman who just was had a complaint about his neighbor not keeping the property well maintained, and luckily that property owner is cooperating very much with our city code enforcement officer and fire chief Scott Vaughn, and actually keeping the property maintained, and has plans to renovate one, sell the other. So it's, as long as the property owners are working on keeping some of these properties from falling into a derelict condition, then the city is not going to take legal action. Occasionally, property owners will leave. A lot of times they're out of town. They own a property here, live somewhere else. Property falls into very bad state, and the city will have to sometimes come down and take it out. Which brings me into the situation with the Tribune printing building. If anyone's curious about that.
Big news there.
Yeah, it was very unexpected. The roof collapsed Tuesday, not sure exactly the date, but first week of July. And city crews came in and closed off the street just for safety, and it was decided that because one wall on the north side was showing structural, well, it was about to collapse. Brought in an excavator to go ahead and pull it down. So the pictures everyone sees of this big hole didn't actually happen naturally. What did happen naturally was the middle of the roof collapsed. But luckily, Fairfield Media Center's office is located right down the street, so they quickly got the cameras, and Jason Strong was just telling me that got about 2,000 views now on the video that shows the machine coming in and removing that wall. And you know, it's small town news. It's not, you don't usually see a building collapse kind of on its own, and it's a little disconcerting. And one person was saying, well, what does the city do with, you know, make people get inspections on old buildings? The truth is, I'm not sure how private property is managed in that regard. Obviously, a property owner doesn't want their building to collapse and doesn't want it to get to that point.
Well, we should say, fortunately, no one was inside the building.
Very fortunately, yeah.
And I think even some very nice cars that were stored there, they were able to get out in time.
Yep.
I think flat roofs are always, you know, just fighting nature the wrong way. You know, I don't exactly know. What I understand is that it just, you know, basically caused damage over time, and you know, water or anything over time. That's why it's good to have gutters, right, like on the front of this building. We'll have them any decade now. But at any rate, those things do add up and cause, but fortunately the business, you know, that's a fortunate thing, had shut down just the week before, is my understanding. I think it's a building owned by Russ Walker, is that right?
Yep, Tribune Printing.
Tribune Printing.
Yeah, they just closed up. They were looking to sell the building, potential buyers, and no one had any idea how bad it was with the roof. Building was 100 years old, and it does make you think about some of the other older buildings around the square, and just really making sure they're well maintained. I know the building that's across the alley from the old library, old Carnegie Library, at some point some of the bricks started to crumble there, and the building owner decided to get it fixed. But it was in the situation where the city had to say fix it or it's going to come down, and we'll have to take it down out of concern for public safety. So this does happen occasionally. It is odd and it is rare. The question is the city going to take the lot? No, the lot still belongs to the property owner. The property owner is going to take care of removing the rest of the building, clearing the debris. There's already talk of, is it going to be a parking lot? I have no idea.
I hope it's not. I hope it's just a park.
Yeah, exactly.
We have enough parking lots down there.
Well, you know what's interesting? A friend of mine who actually went to Marshall School here in town did a project in Miami where developers had a lot that they weren't planning to develop for a number of years, and they formed a nonprofit and actually turned it into a temporary park. Brought in palm trees, and it was in an area where there was really a lack of green space.
Hey, even make it a garden, why not?
Yeah, so if you know, the property owner's cooperative and is...
I'm sure he's open to suggestions at this point.
Yeah,
but,
so once it's cleared, I'm sure it'll just be basically a dirt lot for a while. Why not use it for something interesting? So we'll see, but property owner is definitely taking care of responsibility on that one. It's not the city's job to come in and clean that up if the property owner is going to do it, which he will. So you'll see that cleared out probably within the next week or so. All right, we moved on. We had some resolution action items and ordinances. We approved the fiscal year 13-14 audit. We used the state auditor. We did that for a number of years. We had a city administrator, not the former one, but the one before him, started using a private company. Kind of messed up keeping the books in terms of the way we've historically done it. So we have a year where it's different, you know, it's like an entirely different accounting system, and it's very hard to tell what's what, and maybe got us in a little trouble with the bond rating situation. So we're getting back on track, and this audit shows that the balances that need to be increased, which is our general fund balance, it's getting there. We would have been better off had we sold Logan Apartments, but the bonding interest was not there as much as some people led the council to believe. So we're still interested in selling it. Probably going to have to be at a reduced rate to what we thought we could get. but it's still something that we should do because there are things, those funds were earmarked towards not anything vital that would basically be a city function we can't do, but one thing like shoring up our general fund balance in order to get our bond rating back up, that was on the list of what those funds were earmarked for, as well as supporting some community events, I believe, and street repair. I mean, there was a list. We had to kind of look at what could be taken off of it and what could be kept on it, but at this point,
I think Fairfield was on that list too.
It definitely was, I remember. So more news on that as we move forward. We're looking at finding potentially a housing brokerage representing it instead of just the city trying to find a buyer, getting an active brokerage or more than one putting it on the market. So we'll look into that further. Nothing really to report, but we did accept the audit as it was. It's not entirely set in stone because there were a couple of discrepancies with urban renewal areas or TIF funds, but we'll get that straightened out. Speaking of which, the city set a public hearing. It's going to be July 22nd at 10 a.m. in the conference room at City Hall. This is to discuss proposed amendment to the Highway 34 West Business Urban Renewal Plan. Now this is originally we had an urban renewal district that just included the property of First Community Credit Union Bank next to Walmart. And this is now expanding. The amendment will now include what's been called the Whitney property, which is the land that we purchased just west of the existing rec center. That'll make room for the new gym. And by including that, using the property tax from that, we can then basically use some of the funding for buying the land for the gym. Probably not for building the gym, but using the TIF funds to pay for that property, then taking that kind of off the expenses to be raised in a sense. Instead of asking funders for fundraising to buy the property, which was never really what was intended, it was fundraised to build the building. This is a way the city can leverage the sales or the property tax from the new bank and the Whitney property in a way that then pays for that property that we purchased.
By the way, you're listening to City Business with James Moore with Michael Halley. Every Tuesday following City Business, City Council that is, City Sessions. Also Thursday, dinner time 6:30 p.m. and Monday the following 6:30 a.m. right here on 100.1 FM, Voice of Fairfield, Iowa and beyond. Also streaming at KRUU-FM. Back to more exciting city news.
Well, this is cool. The skate park we're getting ready to start construction on. We have a memorandum of understanding between the anonymous donor. Well, he won't be anonymous when it's done. We're going to announce him and thank him personally. But for now, anonymous donor, the contractor will build it in the city. Just who's responsible for what. So once the park is done, the skate park is built, the city will then officially accept it as, I mean, it is on our our city park land, but accept it as ours, and the maintenance will be our responsibility. There'll be some landscaping around it we'll be responsible for as well. The design is, it's got a bowl structure for the...
It's an innie, right?
Yes. For the, I don't know, it's like the old pools that they used to use for skateboarding, similar to that. And then it's got a flat part with all these features for... if I knew the terms, I'd use them, but you know,
Well, if you did, I wouldn't know them anyway, so you could really make up anything. But
rails and stuff like that.
Oh
you know,
yeah, of course.
You slide your skateboard on.
We hang 10 or 7 or something like that, 15. You hang.
That's a surfing term. Close enough.
Whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, I was a skateboarder as a kid. Of course, back in those days, there were actually skates on the boards rather than these high-fluting wheels.
Oh yeah, that's when they were locked in. Right?
They were metal, man. It was like something. When you went down, you went down. But I did see a great YouTube. Was that a cat or something on one of these boards jumping around? And it was like pretty impressive. Might have been a dog or something, yeah. So I mean, the future is bright.
Exactly. So train your dog, bring your dog down to skate, the new skate park.
But make sure you keep a leash on it, that's all.
Exactly. Well, the dog park is nearby. You can go off leash in there.
Excellent.
And once they run around, then bring them over for a little skate lesson.
I'm telling you, we are a multi-purpose, diverse community.
Yes. So that, just to remind people, the skate park is located at O.B. Nelson Park. It's near where the old swimming pool used to be. That was removed recently. It's where the sand volleyball court was. That is now at Waterworks Park. Apparently it's just started being used this week. So we didn't lose anything, we just moved the amenities. It's a little game we like to play sometimes.
I love it.
Yeah. So
that's keeping, keeping things vital and moving them around. Good thing.
Yeah. So
great place for the sand volleyball.
Yeah. So if you're into that, find out what the leagues are, but I think they're currently playing. Parks and Rec Department organizes that. All right. I don't want to bore you with the soil boring contract, but just to let you know that we did approve it because phase 2 of the wastewater thing is getting going. Phase 1 went from the plant, wastewater plant, which is southeast of town, to about Lamson Woods. This phase 2 goes from Lamson Woods heading north over by MUM. And so this is just the main arterial line, the main lines of our underground wastewater system that needing replacement, needing updating. So that's good to know that we're moving forward on that. We did hear from our city engineer, Melanie Carlson, who also is filling in as, I wouldn't really say city administrator, but just filling in some of those duties on city projects. So she updated that the $2 million in water runoff projects. These funds are basically, the city borrows multi-million dollars, many millions of dollars from the state revolving fund for wastewater upgrades, which we're doing, or will be doing soon. And then instead of paying interest on those loans, the state gives you that money that would be interest instead to use towards water runoff projects. So water improvement in terms of stormwater rather than drinking water. So these would include rain gardens and pervious pavement type situations, and a lot of work on Crow Creek, trying to, for example, minimize erosion under the bridges on the trail system. So we actually apparently impressed the group who administers these funds. A lot of towns, they'll do one project and all the funding will come from SRF. We pulled together funding sources from 3 different places and have a number of projects that involve many different organizations. So this group met, and once again Fairfield showed that we were, I don't want to say a cut above because that's comparative, but we were
we rocked the house.
Well, there you go. We were doing it the way they like to see it be done. You
Gotcha.
see what I'm saying? We're not just relying on this source of money. We've got others. We're not just doing one project, doing multiple. They like that, so good on us. The mayor also reported, if you remember last time I said that on July 9th, the Community Attraction and Tourism, the CAT board, would be giving the city kind of a yay or nay, will we get funds for our pool and gym project? They unanimously said yes. Now it goes on to what they call the negotiating committee. So I don't know how much negotiating. I've never heard about this exactly, but maybe they give you a number, and they put it on a piece of paper and they turn it upside down and they slide it over, and then you look at it, and then maybe you scratch it out and you put a number and you slide. I don't know. Maybe that's how it's done. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's more verbal. Maybe they just say, if we gave you X and you had to fundraise Y, could you do that? And you say, well, if you gave us X plus this, then we could. That kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. But so I don't have an exact number, but we're getting something.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, it is good news. And so if everything continues to go as planned, and I've learned to say this after the quiet zone took a little longer to get completed than previously thought. If things continue to go as planned, we will have a pool opening in time for the swimming season 2015. If. Don't quote me on that. I said if. All right.
No, you can quote you on if.
Quote me on the if.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on
That's the safe
anything
quote.
definite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If things go by plan, I don't know what would happen in the world.
Exactly. But we know it's possible. And
Yep.
it's what we're aiming for.
Great.
And then the new gym would open maybe fall 2015. So it's all moving forward. That's pretty much all I've got, Mr. Moore.
Well, let's just address one other thing.
Sure.
For the 175th
Oh,
celebration
yes.
weekend.
Please talk about that.
A little bit confusing. July 4th and July 5th rain out. Activities that were ongoing for Sunday went on. But I think the main thing, I guess people want to, the word appears to be that there's going to be a fireworks celebration.
Yes.
But just, I think you've been associated with this whole, did you get to speak on Friday? I think the weather was still good there.
Yeah, the weather was good. So just to recap, when this first 175th, let's do a 175th party thing came up maybe in February, the group looked at which weekend would be the best time to celebrate the city's birthday. Well, it really made sense to just do it on July 4th weekend and kind of make it a joint birthday party, City of Fairfield and our great nation. The 4th happened to fall on a Friday. I've looked at my calendar, this will not occur again, so about 6 years, so hopefully this won't be an issue again. The organizers, again, a diverse group of people from the community, realized that First Friday's Art Walk does pull a number of people to the downtown. That's just a fact. Whether you go or you don't go, or your friends go or they don't go, people go. And we didn't want to split the community. We didn't want people downtown and then try to somehow wrap up early and then get them out to waterworks, because you can't launch fireworks downtown. You have to do it in pre-approved locations, and the only two in town that the city's ever used are Waterworks Park or Fairgrounds. So we decided, well, we're going to do our fireworks
and
show.
also on the private property there for.
Yeah, well, that's not the city.
Right.
Sticking with the city fireworks for now. There were fireworks though.
No, but the people in the city, they count everything as the city.
Oh, yeah.
But I know you're speaking for the
Yeah.
city council, but you sound just a little defensive. Maybe I'm just hearing that, but I did hear there was quite a bit of consternation expressed by not having the fireworks on July 4th, of course, exacerbated by them being rained out, and some feeling that the art walk associated with the north side taking precedent over. You expressed that it was a diverse committee trying to figure out what the best thing to do. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Personally, we couldn't have just had a great art walk and then shifted at 8 or 9. The fireworks don't go till night. At any rate, maybe if that comes up again, people will take that under advisement, because I think that would have been a better solution. But I just wanted to, there is a little bit of a backdrop to this story. So okay.
Well, anyway, yeah, it's one of those things that is not an issue until it becomes an issue. So we announced that July 5th were the fireworks months ago. I never heard anything personally. I never got a message on our 175th Facebook page. Anyone had an issue with that. Not a single person. So if I'm defensive, it's because the attacks that came afterwards were entirely based on the fact that everyone was upset that the rain occurred, and then started criticizing the schedule when the schedule was posted months in advance and no one criticized.
It was, but I'm not sure how many people notice something like this posted 2 months in advance. I think the organizers noticed more than, I mean, they were announced. But
Well,
I mean,
it was in the newspaper, it was in multiple, it was on KMCD News, it was on this channel.
You bet.
I think as a child, I used to go to maybe our local one would be on the 4th and the neighbor one would be on the 5th or the 3rd or whatever. It was quite often, and not rare at all for, this is rural Ohio, I don't think it's that much different than rural Iowa, to have staggered fireworks for different reasons. So there's nothing unpatriotic about not doing fireworks on the 4th. Had it gone according to plan and the rain not come in on the 5th, I think 90-something% of the population would have been quite happy. We spent a lot of money on fireworks this year. So
well, anyway, and let's get ahead to what.
Yeah, that's what happened was the rain started coming on Saturday, and it was pretty heavy, and the forecast was that it wasn't going to relent. So our fire chief, who had trained his crew to launch the fireworks, called the fireworks company and said, all right, we've got, our rain date is Sunday, and we still have a 40% chance of rain. And the fireworks company said, you spent a lot of money on these fireworks, and if they get even a little wet, you will have duds, meaning you'll launch them and they won't blow up. And he said, for $5,000, I'd really say just move it to a time where you're more certain you're not going to get rained out. So that was, the call was made to preserve the investment that was made with those fireworks. And the next weekend that was most likely dry and had the time to do it was Labor Day. So fireworks have been sent back. They can't be contained. They can't be stored in a non-contained environment. So they're back at the place that they're paid for. So we'll get them Labor Day, August. We're actually not Labor Day. That weekend, it's Saturday night, is August 30th.
Okay.
Is the night that we're going to not only launch the fireworks, but basically have the celebration that was planned with the live music. Not exactly the same bands. One band, unfortunately, one band that you might be intimately familiar with, Jefferson County Green Band, cannot do August 30th. So we're really bummed we're missing them. Try to find a replacement, but we know you guys are just not replaceable. But we'll have East of Omaha, and we'll have the vendors, and probably have the dunk tank, and anybody who's angry at me personally,
there you go.
I invite you to come and dunk me. If that helps, it makes you feel
Let's
better.
put some ice cubes in it so it'll be like the polar thing too.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I'd like that. So, yeah, it's just been moved. But, you know, I apologize to anyone who feels that the city or the organizers of this event are in some way not respectful of the country's anniversary. It was incredibly not intended that way. It was simply to make the event as full and fun and open to the public as you could possibly make it.
I also want to say you made it very clear that the organizing committee, the folks that chose that, made up of a mixed group of people trying to figure it out. So it's like something associated with Art Walk from this side or that side or whatever. Just again, remember the key point of this whole discussion was the organizing body was a mixed group and trying to figure out the best way to move forward. And I know you're not asking my 2 cents. I think those rare times when it does fall on the 4th on a weekend, if there's any way that can be done, I think we could handle being on the square and then moving over. It could be like we could have a parade. We could combine Bark in the Park. Okay, I better go before I hurt myself. This is James Moore. We've been talking with Michael Halley, generous for coming in and keeping us up to snuff on the latest from City Hall. And again, you can hear this report Thursday, 6:30 p.m., following Monday at 6:30 a.m. And Michael, thank you so much. Also, Mr. Jason L. Strongman in the house. Give our best to the FMCers. And remember, only you can prevent porous fiber.